Ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to come to what we all came here for tonight. And I'd like to thank Doc Danner, and I'd like to thank everybody here tonight. And I really appreciate the fine turnout, and I hope this isn't the first one. I hope we can go on and have a second one. And I'd like my privilege tonight to introduce Mr. Bill Holliday.
Are you going to present that thing now?
Whenever you want.
I'll be right here close. Good evening. Everything working fine? Everybody having a good time? God damn. I ain't never seen so many degenerates under one roof. Boy, it's like homecoming week for me. This is really the first time I've been out to the racetrack in over 6 years. But during the latter part of the 60s and the early part of the 70s, I left about 5 years of my life out here. In fact, I still owe for 2 kids. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge a few old friends. First, there's Frank Beeler, who I go way back with. In fact, Frank and I went to school together. It was a very special school. You had to be sent there by someone. Someone like a federal judge. And if you ever seen that commercial on TV for shampoo for split hair, well, Frank don't have to worry about that. His hair split a long time ago. I want to thank you, Frank, for telling me to go out to the new HPBA building to get my check. What new building? Sucker looks like they moved one of the barns off the backstretch. Frank said it was designed on purpose to look like a dirty old barn so that Jack the Fee would feel at home. I also want to say hello to my old friend, Frank Caracci, who's here tonight on the work release program. And my old friend, Crazy Legs Joe Palooza. Where's Joe? Who should be on a work release program. And of course, I want to say hello to someone I haven't seen in a few years. In fact, since the last time I seen him, he found all the hair that Frank Beeler lost. That's Roy Walker I'm talking about. Roy introduced me to his new lady tonight, a little jockey by the name of Tammy Fox. Tammy, if you don't make it as a jockey, you can always get a job posing on the top of wedding cakes. And I think that was a damn nice idea to auction off all this crap they've been stealing out the barns for the last 2 weeks. And I'm kind of pissed off at Joey Dornack getting that saddle for his old lady. I had it in mind for mine. But I think it'll fit yours much better, Joey. Well, I ain't the only one who knows. I also would like to say hello to a very old friend of mine, Chris Vodakovich. Well, yeah, Chris. By the bar, I figured that. By the bar. I got to tell you a little story, a quick little story. I once took Jerry Hisson. Jerry Hisson, as most of y'all know, is from West Virginia. And he's really a borderline Jew. I mean, he ain't one of them New York Jews. He's from West Virginia. Sort of a borderline Jew. And when this Jew first come down here, I took him over to Chris's to eat some crawfish for the first time. And you ever tried to explain to anybody from out of town how to eat crawfish, especially a borderline Jew? I told him first you gotta twist off the head, then you gotta suck the head. He said, suck the what? And he never got past sucking the heads. Next time he's down, I'll teach him how to squeeze the tails. I want to welcome you all here tonight. It's for a good cause. If I could sort of put it in the words of New Orleans, we're here tonight to raise money for the chaplain, because he done tapped out. And it ain't even halfway through the meat. So the sole purpose tonight is to pump his ass up again. Anyway, I want to welcome you to the first annual Fairgrounds Roast. Before we actually begin the roast, I thought that for the benefit of the people who have never been to a roast, that I should explain the ground rules of a roast. First of all, the use of profanity tonight is not only permitted, it is required. And in Mervin's case, it's necessary. In describing Mervin tonight, all words can be used, except those ending in itch, it, or uck. The rules for this roast are the same as the journalism rules for the Times-Picayune. And that is, if you can't say anything nice about somebody, then let's hear it. And finally, I want you people to know that we're going to be saying some mean, nasty, and hateful things about Mervin tonight. But in spite of all these things, we love this man. We honor and respect this man, and we cherish his friendship. And if you believe that crap, Century 21's got some property down in the 9th Ward they want to talk to you about. My job as roastmaster is to provide a few laughs and see that you enjoy yourself. I never found that a problem here in New Orleans, because basically what you're dealing with here in New Orleans is pretty people. It's never been a problem in my career to entertain pretty people. Pretty people will laugh in a minute. It's them damn uglies. Ain't no way you can get an ugly person to laugh at what you're saying up here. Ugly people sitting out there worried about how damn ugly they are. Ain't nothing you're gonna say gonna cheer up an ugly person. But as I look out in the audience tonight, I see pretty people. It makes you realize the wonder of the Lord's work. The Lord really knew what he was doing when he made people. Made everybody perfect. Made everybody in his own image. Everybody's perfect. I mean it. Look at your partner. Look at the people sitting next to y'all. Look how perfect they are. Well, some of y'all are going to have to check behind you. But think about how perfect he made you. He gave you 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears. And he was good about it. Put 1 on each side. Well, hell, he could have messed you up. Little things. Suppose you'd have put the part in your hair this way. Instead of this way. And all day long, people come up to you and whisper in your nose. Hello, Frank Beeler would have taken a part either way. Hell, 1 straight up and down would have been all right, huh, Frank? Or the Lord could have given you just 1 arm instead of 2. And run it right out of your navel. It looks so bad. You got ready to applaud, you'd have to clap like this. So I know I've got nothing but pretty people here to entertain tonight. And with that thought in mind, let us proceed with the roast of Mervin Muniz. Let me tell you, I've looked forward to this roast with all the anticipation of getting a vasectomy with a Vegematic. I mean, Mervin Muniz, whose biggest claim to fame is that he once was a runner-up in the Dutch Moriel look-alike contest. I mean, first of all, what kind of name is Mervin? Mervin must have been raised in Gentilly. Mervin sounds like a Gentilly name. Mervin. I'm from the 3rd Ward. When I was a kid, we used to call any part of our anatomy our Mervin. I mean, you know, like, up your Mervin. Or kiss my Mervin. And I gotta tell you this, that right before the roast, Mervin came up to me and asked me to take it easy on him tonight. He said he hadn't been feeling himself lately. I told him that was good. It was a bad habit he should have stopped a long time ago. Now, as a young man, Mervin was well liked at school, and his achievements are many. In fact, most of you people don't know this, but Mervin played an important part in the world's first brain transplant. He was the donor. Mervin is quite a guy. Raised in New Orleans, educated in the Louisiana school system, and he's risen to a degree of respectability within the racing community. The only thing I forgot to mention is his career in uniform. Then again, I recognize many of the men in this audience also have good Boy Scout records. I mean, let's face it, folks, tonight we're here to honor a half-blind, overweight toe sucker. And I thought that was a secret. I mean, you're looking at a 100% pure gentleman. I mean, who else you know would step out of a shower to take a pee? Look, I know his friends consider him bright, witty, and intelligent. But for some reason, he looks like he still wears them pajamas with the little feet in them. And he's got quite a reputation as a playboy. A playboy. If you don't believe me, ask Maggie Jo Potts. Or Mary Bacon. Or Diane Carpenter. In fact, ask Diane Carpenter why he asked her to quit wearing nail polish. It was giving him a sore throat. In fact, when they first started allowing female jockeys around the fairgrounds, it was Mervin's idea to open up a halfway and go all the way. And even as a young man, Mervin has had his eye on the opposite sex. In fact, Mervin was the first man in New Orleans to subscribe to Playboy magazine. When he was a kid, they didn't have Playboy magazine. He had to read them old Sears and Roebuck catalogs, getting horny looking at the panties and brassiere ads. He went from that to National Geographic. Read so many of them suckers, his folks thought he was going to be an explorer. Then along come Playboy. Mervin's read Playboy since the day it come out. Hell, he can read it with one hand. Get whiplash from turning the pages with his tongue. In fact, Tommy Russell told me that the way Mervin got his reputation as a playboy was by hanging around the jocks room playing with the boys. Someone once told Mervin he should just be himself. They couldn't have given him worse advice. I mean, to give you an example how smart Mervin really is, just last week, he was called in to take his insurance company physical, and he was so worried about it, he stayed up all night studying for his urine test. And as you probably know, Mervin has never been married, although years ago he was engaged. But the guy broke off the engagement when he found out Mervin couldn't cook worth a shit. As you probably know, at one time, Mervin dated Diane Carpenter. But that romance ended when Mervin came down with a bad case of athlete's mouth. And now that his eyesight is gone, his sex life is in shambles. For instance, it was just last week that in the middle of the sex act, he began to understand just how bad his eyes were when he realized that nobody could possibly have a 6-inch toe. As I stand here looking at this double for the Goodyear blimp, I suddenly realize how wicked the sex act is. I mean, after all, look how his parents were punished for doing it. While when his mama was carrying him, his doctors thought she had a malignant tumor. And they were right. I mean, hell, Mervin was so ugly when he was born, the doctor slapped his mama. In fact, his family now remembers his birthday by doing penance. But Mervin has stayed true to his roots. In fact, when Mervin passes on to the big parimutuel in the sky, he has requested that he be given a jazz funeral down the home stretch here at the fairgrounds. When he hits the finish line, he would like to be cremated and have his ashes thrown in Tommy Russell's face. Mervin, there's someone else who wanted to be here tonight, but she's right in the midst of a campaign for the position of sheriff of Weatherford, Texas. She said that if she gets elected sheriff, the first thing she's going to do is have you arrested on an old charge that you committed on her several years ago. I think she called it assault with a dead weapon. She was quite candid about your sex life, too. I asked her how she would describe having sex with you. She said that having sex with Mervin was like a New Orleans rainstorm. You don't know how many inches you're going to get or how long it's going to last. Well, Mervin, so much for the clean stuff. Now it's time to turn you over to the members of the dais. And what a distinguished group it is. Well, right here on this dais is represented at least 250 years of past, present, and future penitentiary time. To start off the festivities tonight, I'd like to bring to the Louis Russell to show up. That takes care of his ass. First roaster is a gentleman whom I'm sure all of you know. He's the president of the fairgrounds, and as president, he's given all of you horsemen a lot. Things like ulcers, nausea, diarrhea. And let me ask you something. You ever notice that when they have to destroy a horse out here at the track, the next day they got a meat sale at Dorinak's? Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Dorinak.
What can I say?
We had a plastic plate, cup, and plastic spoons for Mervin. They're still there. I just don't want y'all to worry, fellas. We had them on plastic plates. We're going to throw them away. You know, today, I had a telegram come in from, what's that guy with Winfrey's phone? Joe Thompson or something? Joe Thomas. Yeah, Joe Thomas. And he wanted to thank us for putting that 4-year-old maiden race on so that minstrel $1 million horse could break her maiden before she goes to the breeding shed. Then late this evening, he sent me another telegram. He says, try and get in them none-winners at 2, Merv, will you? Oh, I had a flash today. Bumpy Grandsire bought 2 tickets to this thing. I want to thank Tony Padoni for trying to cut down on expenses because we made a special price for this tonight. He didn't serve no bread, no butter on this table. And again, Jerry, next year raise it $1 so we can turn the air conditioner on, will you? Okay? And, oh, Louis Roussel sent his regrets. He was invited out with Rosalind Treen at a Treen party. That's all I have to say, fellas. We're having a nice time. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Who was that guy? The next roaster is an old friend of Mervin's, and to be honest with you, I'm not too familiar with the gentleman, but Mervin told me that he is the senior state steward, and his big weakness is redheads. That he would jump on anything with a red head. And that his weakness for redheads finally got him in trouble when last week he caught herpes from a red-headed woodpecker. Ladies and gentlemen, Bubba Webb. What?
I'd like to thank the jock agents for inviting me down. I really miss y'all. After following Billy, I'll show you what a mistake I made. I wrote a long speech for Mervin. I got down here and found a mixed crowd here. I threw it away, but I made a mistake after following Billy. But I just wonder if people really do know about Mervin's romance. I'm not talking about Maggie and Mary and Diane. I'm going way back. Mervin used to have a tall, skinny redhead. You remember Albert? You remember her? She was so skinny she could drink a bottle of red pop and look like a thermometer. But anyway, Mervin liked this girl. I'm going back 10, 12 years ago. And she had a birthday coming up. Mervin didn't know what to buy her. So he heard one of the ladies say, that poor thing don't even own a bra. So that snapped in Mervin's head. He goes down the mall. He tells that lady, I want the biggest, best bra you possibly got. He didn't know why she wasn't wearing one. He didn't know too much about the anatomy of a girl. But anyway, she gave him one of these living bras. Mervin paid $15 cash money for it. He didn't look back. That bra would have made Dolly Parton proud. He got back with it, gave it to her. That bra took one look at her and died on the spot. She turned it over and it fit just right. They all got to laughing to Mervin. He got mad. He wanted it back. He wanted to take it back and get his $15 back and put it back with his first communion quarter. Anyway, she wouldn't give it to him. That's the first thing you ever gave me, and I'm going to give it back to you. They had the damnedest fight you ever seen. They broke the bra in two, one pulled on one side and one the other. Finally, she shoved Mervin down, cut his elbow. He shoved her down. He picked her feet up. He started pulling her back like a wheelbarrow this way. He hurt her. He come woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, Bubba, you got to help me. He said, I might have hurt that girl. He said, she claimed her leg broke. You know any doctors? Besides, said she might sue me. So I sent Dr. Douglas down there. He filled out a view card, put her on it. A couple of other drugs that he couldn't write down. But anyway, that's one of the many trials and tribulations that Mervin and I went through. I love him like a brother. I don't trust him at all when it comes to filling a race because he won't stop murder wanting to fill a race. But anyway, I could go on and on and on about Mervin, but I really don't have anything to really roast him about. I think as much of that guy as do anybody in the world. Thank you.
Jeez, Mervin. It's sure being soft on you. Ain't been hard on you yet, huh? Well, our next roaster is a distinguished guest from out of town. Actually, he's the racing secretary at Hawthorne, and he came all the way here to honor Mervin. That'll give you an idea of how exciting things are in Hawthorne. I mean, I never met the gentleman before tonight, but his friends assure me that he is nice, decent, and an unpretentious person. He is well respected in racing circles, and his friends say that he even possesses some of the qualities of St. Paul and St. Louis, two of the dullest cities in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Scott.
Billy, you wiped me out. Everything I was going to say, you kind of covered. But, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow horsemen, and Mervin. Mervin Muffy Muniz, Jr. Muffy. Anybody recognize that name, Muffy? Well, I'll tell you one thing. After this program, there'll be a question and answer session in the men's room why he got the name Muffy. No ladies are allowed. I'm sorry. Now, here we go. We're going to talk about a good man. Oh, he took my job. Look, I've been here for many a year. Who'll outrun me? Muffy. Huh. Well, my recitation this evening is going to be very short. And I'm going to cover a part of his career. All right, we'll divide it up in about 3 sections. Okay, his ability, his health, and his sex life, okay? All right, now we're going to get into the first part, his ability. You know, he lost his job at Evangeline Jones. He was only there a couple of years. My God, I thought he could last longer than that. I thought I taught him enough that he could do that, you know? All right, now then, Muffy, you know about him. Okay, now we're going to get into the sex life. Okay. Oh, the sex life. Huh. Well, Billie Holiday covered all the girls in his life, okay? He's fooled around with many of them. We've gone to the Super Bowl together, and he brought a different girl every time they was in New Orleans, you know? Never got married. He's no better than the rest of us. It's about time he should get married. He's got to suffer like the rest of us suffer. All right, now we're getting down to the part of health. I'm going to tell you a very secret. He wets the bed. He wets the bed. We were in Cincinnati a few years ago. He was my assistant, then he took over the second job as the secretary. And we were staying at a particular motel. So one night it happened that we had to share the same bed, okay? Before daybreak, them sheets got awful cold. He was responsible. Maybe he's changed in the last couple of years, but I doubt it. All right, now it's still on sex, you know. He writes a lot of filly and mare races now. You know that? Writes a lot of filly and mare races. This excites him. He has to go and take a shower. Did you notice how clean he is? Oh, just sparkles. It's all excited. Well, that's the 6 civilian mare races. And, oh, now we're going to, here. He's the guy that puts the weights on horses, right? Huh. Well, Frankie, are you in the house? 115 ought to put on you. 129? No way. If you want to come to Sportsman, I can find you a couple of stalls. Not a few, but a couple, okay? Now, Billy Holiday, he covered all these broads that he was affected with. Well, okay, we've covered that already. He beat me to that punch. Now, here we're getting down to a very important thing, the condition book. For Christ's sakes, Laurel, Spider, would you kindly tell him to change the book? It's the same one I stole from Larry Bogenschutz. That was 20 years ago. And a lot of people tell me he spends at least 40 to 50 minutes every 2 weeks in the men's room changing the covers on the damn book. But you have got a pretty cover on the book, I will say that. All right, I want to close. I'm not going to knock him too much because I love him. He's really been good to me. Oh, one thing about him. I'm getting tired of traveling. I want to come home. Okay? Years ago, I used to look at him and I'd get him all excited. I'd say, Mervin, you look bad. I said, you got a bad color to you. And about a half an hour later, I'd repeat the same thing. So he'd come in and I'd say, Mervin, you don't look so good. So about a half an hour later, he'd be at Dr. Odom's office and he'd say, Doc, I really feel bad. So I'm going to start working on this so maybe I can come back to New Orleans. Now, I don't know how anybody goes out of these situations, but I want to say one thing. I heard a joke on television the other night that really hit me, and I know there's a lot of good Catholic representatives here in the room. This is about a priest. He stepped up to the pulpit, and he opened the good book, and he says, now a reading from John from a letter to the Corinthians. If you remember your Bible, you remember this. And he said, Dear Corinthians, I'm having a great time in New Orleans roasting Mervin Muniz. Wish you were here, signed John. Now, if you get this, I know this might be a little deep for you, but I thought it was very good. Well, anyway, I want to say one thing. I've really enjoyed being here to get after Mervin. Oh, Muff. Muff. That's a good word for him. And I've enjoyed it immensely, and thank him very much for inviting me, and I can't knock him too much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bubba, Tommy. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you. Well, it's hard to tell the difference because both of you bored the shit out of me. I mean, this is an X-rated roast. Also, first of all, I do want to apologize for one of the members of the dais who could not be here tonight, and that is a very old friend of mine, Louis Roussel. I'm a very old friend of his, and let me tell you, that's not easy being a man's only friend. There are some people that say that Louis is living in his father's shadow and that he's completely dominated by his father, and he does not make a move without consulting his father. But that ain't true. His father does not tell him what to do. His father does not give him any advice. Louis makes all of his decisions for himself. He's also kind and considerate. In fact, he asked me to apologize for not being here tonight, but his daddy wouldn't let him have the keys to the car. The next gentleman is Al Stahl. There are two things I would like to tell you about this man. The first thing is that he has never been to jail. And the second is, I don't know why. I mean, a man he's so well thought of here at the racetrack that tomorrow in his honor, they're going to dedicate a mule urinal on Decatur Street. A man who is considered well-educated and gracious. In fact, just this week, he offered to donate his entire private library and book collection to Tulane University. But the university declined the offer. 8 of the 10 books had already been colored in. Ladies and gentlemen, Al Stahl.
You're a tough act to follow, Billy. I'm finished. Well, since everybody else was so long-winded, I'll try to be a little brief. I'm not too used to roasting people, especially an old friend like Merv or Muff or whatever we call him. But I've known him about 15 years. And I have a list here of his major accomplishments as a racing official. Well, the only one that really strikes my memory is he did beat Ernie Hessler in a match race at Evangeline Downs. Only you and I would know that, Muff. And I really hate to... Tommy took a little of the thunder away about the condition book, because you know how important it is to... Would you keep quiet, Diane? God damn it. You know, one of the biggest job, other than getting the law, make sure you get the overnight out here. Okay, other than that is Muff to make sure he gets his book written properly. And our man sitting right over there, it's got to be, he's got to love Muff, because all he has to do is just change the years, you know. The book is the same for all the years he's been around, so we got no problem with that. And I think he did inherit it from Tommy. But I just want to tell you one thing. A typical day at the office for Merv. Okay, the entries are being made, the agents are screaming and yelling, going for the scratches, everybody this, or that horse didn't have this, whatever. And I pick up the phone, I call, and I say, Merv, it's Al, baby. I said, how's the 25,000 look, Merv? Whatever you want to call it, okay, the diplomat way. And he'd say, well, we have 6 in it now, Al. And I said, well, what's it look like? He said, well, hold 1 second. Law, does Louis have a horse in there? Okay, that race is off. And then I say, well, what are you going to do now, Merv? Well, I'm going to split that 5,000 going short. Split the 5,000 going short. Well, with those kind of horses, they can't make it around 2 turns. So he's a wonderful guy, and it's a wonderful tribute to you, Merv, to have everybody like this show up tonight, and I appreciate being a part of it. Thank you very much.
And getting better all the time. The next gentleman to roast Mervin is not only a friend of Mervin's, but he's also the best friend of Billy Trotter's. In fact, he told me tonight that he thinks so much of Billy Trotter that he wished that he would get elected Pope. That way, all he would have to kiss is his ring. Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Ashby.
Thank you, Billy. Now I know how a $1,500 claimer feels in a stake race, trying to follow you. Anyway, we're here tonight to roast Mervin. When they told Mervin they was going to give him a roast, the first thing he wanted to know whether it was going to be pork or beef. The good thing about roasting Mervin is he comes stuffed already. As many people have observed, Mervin is very big in horse racing. And as others have observed, Mervin is very big in the entire racing industry. As I observe it, Mervin is just very big. I've been knowing Mervin approximately 17 years and about 7 pant sizes. I've been with him through all his ups and downs, and most of the ups was on the scale. So this time, the times I've worked with Mervin, and can truthfully say he has never got a little behind in his work. In fact, the only place he ever did get a little behind was off of a corner on Bourbon Street. As long as I've known Mervin, health has always been a problem. Each summer, during the thoroughbred meet at Evangeline Downs, the same ritual happened every year. Approximately 2:30 in the morning, in late July, the phone would ring in my house. On the other end of the line was Mervin announcing that if you don't get me to the emergency room in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to die with a massive heart attack. So in keeping the tradition, we make our appearance down in the emergency room. When we get there, naturally we find Mervin suffering from trapped gas. After eating about 2 pounds of boudin and a ton of crackling, after a bottle of Maalox and a good enema, Mervin starts to feeling good again. Then he tells me, look, if you don't get me to the pit grill in the next 20 minutes, we're going to miss the all-you-can-eat special. Mervin has the strongest lungs in medical history. For 20 years, he's been trying to hold in that gut. One of Mervin's favorite dishes is red beans and rice. So every summer, my wife has to fix him red beans and rice. My stockbroker wants to know the week is going to happen so he can buy commodities with red beans and rice. Now, Mervin has a special recipe for red beans and rice. He won't let her put more than 239 beans in the pot of rice. I asked him why. He said, if you put one more, then it's going to make them 240. You got that one, Billy? All right, brother. Well, to end this on a serious note, I would just like to say that knowing Mervin as a friend and a fellow worker has been one of the best and most enjoyable experiences of my life. When God made Mervin, he broke the mold. He probably didn't have enough room in heaven to store it. Thank y'all.
Damn, he was good. I want to check his immigration papers. Anyway, our next roaster is a man who could have gone down in the history books as a great trainer. Instead, he's remembered in the racing circles as a dummy who forgot how to work a safety pin. And except for that, spectacular bid would have been a Triple Crown winner. While when Bud Delp first took to racing, they planted a tree in the front yard of his Maryland home, and they called it the Bud Delp tree. And all through Bud's early career in racing, the tree continued to grow. Till one day, Bud went off to run into Belmont, and all of a sudden, the tree died. The only one that could figure it out was Bud's dad. He said, how can a tree live in Maryland when the sap's at the Belmont? Ladies and gentlemen, Bud Delp.
Thank you, buddy. Well, you know, Billy, I'll tell you, if it hadn't have been for that safety pin, I doubt that I'd have been in New Orleans. And I would have missed a hell of a lot. Because this is my third year here, and every year gets better than the one before. It really does. Mervin. My man. Now, I was going to start a lot of places, but this guy, you know, he, like everybody else said, he kind of takes words right out of your mouth. He told me that Diane was stealing his material. I think he was down there stealing mine. Right, Bill? Yeah, he was under my table. I don't know why. He should have been under Diane's. And that wasn't planned either, but she has been. Yeah. Well, today, I was really damn lucky to get here tonight. I'll tell you, really and truly, I had a terrible day. I had a horse bleed, a 3-year-old nice colt that I just turned down $100,000 for. My pony broke down. My wife's pony broke down. She doesn't even know that till right this minute. She's crying right now. I can see her over there. And I was thinking about racing at Louisiana Downs this summer, but I got a little snag up there with the stalls and renting them outside, but we hope we can work it out. But Mervin, getting back to my man Mervin, now they've said so many bad things about Mervin. I cannot knock this man. Ain't no way I can knock. What are you laughing at, Merv? I ain't gonna knock you. No. This guy's definition of exercise for the day is 8 trips to the Jocks Room snack bar. And really, if you really want to know how the weather is in this area, check Mervin's window. If it's down, he's in a Jocks Room. If it's up, he's sitting in it and it's warm, and you can come out with your short-sleeve shirt on. I check it, I drive by, I say, whoop, okay, take the coat off, walk in, it's really nice. I don't see him jogging home or anything like that, but that's the way I see him in the morning. When I first shipped down here 3 years ago, I had 7 vans and 46 horses. And who's to meet me when I'm unloading the vans after a 26-hour drive in the car? My man Merv. Everything will be all right, Bud. I says, I don't know about that, Merv. I got 46 horses to go in 44 stalls. He says, I'll go over there and they'll fit in there, no problem. That's Merv. And I turned around and shook my head and I said, well, we got him in anyway, somehow. Remember that, Merv? And then, going back many, many years ago, before I ever really knew Mervin, and this is a story, and I was in the area at the time. He was an assistant racing secretary working his way up. And I know how these guys operate, racing secretaries. They don't care what they do to a trainer. They don't care as long as they get that car together and say, look, boss, what I got here. Mr. Dorniak, look at this car I got together today. You know, everywhere. Mervin's working his way up as a young guy in New England, way up in Maine, Scarborough Downs. Now, I don't know whether it's Tommy Scott there or not, but it was somebody that he was working under, and he needed the horse real bad. And this trainer knew the office real good, so he took the phone off the hook. There's no answer. The man says, you go to the house and get the horse. Knocks on the door of the house. Trainer's wife answers the phone. It's Bud here. Can be Bud or can anybody. Yeah, he's here. He says he's in the bathroom. He's in the shower. Excuse me? Walked in, opened the bathroom door, slid the curtain back. He says, I need a horse. Just run him twice that week. He need him for Sunday. He says, if I don't get him, I lose my job. Take the horse, take the horse. You know, what the hell. Got him. Now, the other day, he calls me on the telephone, not 4 or 5 days ago. He said, Bud? I said, yeah, Merv. He says, I need a horse. Need a 3-year-old maiden. I said, you do? He says, to go short. Can you imagine that around here? 129 thrown out, every maiden race going short. Need 9 stars to get in. Oh, boy, I'll tell you, it's bad. You talk about appetite. I had the pleasure of having dinner with Mervin one night. Only one night. There will never be another one. He came to my house on invitation. This is a while back. And my wife, Regina, fixed a nice dinner, and Raymond came over, and Gene Parr, my #1 agent. And we had filet mignon, Italian bread, oven brown potatoes, a Greek salad with a lot of feta cheese, and Mervin ate 3 filet mignons. Good thing we had them when we did. But for dessert, we had cream puffs. The last time I looked, he was reaching for the 7th one. And that's really the truth. Now, I'm not just turning him on. That's the truth. Now, you know, I'm not putting this guy on. That's the truth. But night was when I bought that saddle. It's really digging me right here. $450. Now, I was going to buy that bridle, that white bridle. I was going to $1,000 for that bridle, but it's yours, Mr. Starr. Your hair, real. But I've never owned a white leather bridle, and I wanted that bridle. So I saw this saddle, and I liked that, had a little white on it, and I'm bidding on the saddle. And I figured, well, I asked the gentleman sitting next to me, I won't mention any names. I said, what's this saddle worth? He says, $500. I says, to you? He says, hell no, but to you it is. So that's Ed Champagne, fellas, ladies. So I'm bidding on the thing, and I won it. So I finally get it. Now, you got to know how crooked these agents are. Ronnie Franklin's sitting right there bidding against me. My son is sitting back over there bidding against me. And they drop the bidding. I get the thing for $450. I can buy it for $150 tomorrow morning, I guarantee it. But it's for a good cause. And I'll write it on a bank in that... Where's that place we're going on vacation, Ronnie? Regina and I, when we get that ticket from you? Huh? Where are you, boy? Well, I can't roast Mervin too much. I really can't, because he's a pretty good guy. I've been around a lot of the racing secretaries in my day. And they got me at airports. Will Bud Dell please pick up the Easter Airline information phone? Hello? I need a horse. I need a horse. At the tables in Vegas, I need a horse. You got to get it, because you caught me with it, right? But they're all alike, and most of them are really great guys. I've worked with a lot of them, and Mervin is one of the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Couldn't keep it up, huh, Bud? I got the same problem, just getting it up. Anyway, Bud Job comes from an old line of Chinese after-dinner speakers. On too long. I mean, that was about as exciting as getting a kidney transplant from a bedwetter. Anyway, our next roaster is a gentleman who you will all recognize as Mervin's gopher. You know, Charlie, go for this. Charlie, go for that. He's been an agent. He's been a trainer. He's been an owner. In fact, the way his friends describe him, as a has-been. And the reason they call this man big time is that he can actually boast that there ain't a horse he can't satisfy. I mean, the man is crude. The kind of guy to tell a lady her stockings are wrinkled when she ain't wearing any. I mean, what else can I say about a man whose best friend is Black Cat Lacombe? Ladies and gentlemen, big time Charlie Morrow.
Well, hello, everybody. I know y'all been waiting for this. First off, I want to compliment Jabba and Jerry Hissom, and there's, I guess they call them jockey agents, I don't know, something, for this festive occasion, because it's really nice, and I think it brings together a lot of us horsemen and horse people, and this is really, to me, I'm not even involved in it, except being up here as a roaster, but they deserve a lot of applause because it brought together all of us people here, and it's a great number of people, so I think we ought to give them a little round of applause. And now, y'all will wonder what I was going to say, huh? Well, I got my toes out here, you know. If I got to be shot, I don't know. You like those toes? Well, tomorrow's supposed to be here. I don't know. Anyway. Now, this is an official joke, because anybody that's worked with Mervin as an official will know what this means. But that's strictly for officials, so we're going to keep that confidential. But I want to thank you and welcome to the Fairgrounds Roast of Mervin Muniz, as he's called the Muffy, or, you know, you can imagine what else. Of course, Mervin has been the main course tonight. I just, myself, was thinking, you know, suppose I bit into something that was a toe in it, you know. Might not taste too good. But after chewing him up, I don't think there will be room for much dessert afterwards, both figuratively and literally, because, you know, he's quite stocky. But working close together with Mervin this past couple of years, I called his house one night. I think it was either Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, one or the other. I was so intoxicated I didn't remember. And I was by Mr. Jones' house. He said, well, call him and see what he's doing. So I called, and Mervin's mother answered the phone. I said, could I speak to Mervin? She said, are you kidding? It's 9 o'clock. Mervin's in bed. I said, well, you know, he invited me for a drink. She said, well, let me tell you, Charlie, about his routine. He gets up at 6:30, takes a shower, gets dressed, eats breakfast, goes to the track. Stays there all day, comes home a little bit after 5, takes a quick shower, put on his pajamas, eats, and eats, and eats, and eats, and eats, and eats, and eats. Then he spends about a half hour passing gas on the sofa, and then he goes to bed. So when I was told that Mervin would be the roaster tonight, it was only a confirmation what I had already learned about Mervin from a madam down in Opelousas. I'm not going to mention the gentleman's name, not to embarrass him. That runs a house of ill repute, and that being that he is a glutton for punishment and abuse. And speaking of leather, you know, leather, Mervin's got more leather in his bedroom than Joey Dornar's got in his tack rooms. Mervin, of course, as we all know, started at the bottom on the track. He tried walking hots. There never was a shed road that wide. You know where you could get a horse and him at the same time? So then he went to Connie Statistro, and he said, Connie, I need a job. Connie gave him a pitchfork. Said, hey, man, jump in that stall. He jumped in there with that pitchfork, and that reminded him of spaghetti, so he started eating it. And are you all aware of the fact that Mervin holds the oldest record standing for a 25-year diet that has lost no weight? He told me he wasn't coming here tonight because he knew he could handle all the self-abuse himself at home. But before I leave, and since we're, want to take up a little time and get out of here quick and get it all over, I want to let you all know that Mervin, like you and I, would like to get lucky. But as I said, he holds the record, for the 20-year diet. So all the ladies we mentioned earlier, there's no sense mentioning them again. Some of them are present and some are not. The ones that are present are turning red right now, sitting to my right, but I'm not going to dwell on it so much anyway. But my final thought for the evening is that this summer, I've lined up Mervin for a good job. As you all know, events have been changing hands, and he's kind of been said, see you later. But I got him a good job, and that's starting as, it's in Lafayette, by the way, as a stud. But the only problem was, the person I talked to, I'm not going to reveal his name, said he only could qualify as a teaser. And that's all I have to say for the evening. Good night to y'all.
Are you kidding? Mervin, a stud. The only thing he can stand for would be the Goodyear blimp. Our next roaster is a bona fide coon ass who hails from Abbeville, the only town in America to ban the rectal thermometer because it was doing too much brain damage. A man who comes from so far in the back in the bayou that he was 21 years old before he found out it was unnatural to have sex with a crawfish hole. Ladies and gentlemen, Spanky Broussard.
Well, thank you, Mr. Holliday, and I heard one of the Stooges retired. You might audition for that. Okay. It's a good thing tonight is, there's no Monday Night Football because nobody be here. Not that many people like you. What I'm about to tell y'all is the truth because y'all know I would not lie. Can you imagine holding a little baby in your arms and calling it Mervin? Why didn't she call him Purvis or Percy or Piggy? The name would have fit Piggy. I've known Mervin for about 20 years. I remember when Blackie, that was his father, brought him to the racetrack. He was all dressed up, a suit, tie, everything. I think they stopped at Lamano Palo Fallow and bought the suit before they came out. He looked like a little stuffed pig. The only thing missing was the apple. But all that's changed now. He surrounds himself by big people, smart people. Charlie Morrow. Physically strong people, Raymond. He lies and they swear to it. Let's see. Now about his lying, let's get to that. Every year he sends me a stall application to Arlington, stall application, condition books, etc. And he says, will you distribute this and I'll take care of you. Any favors I can do for you. I said, well, Mervin, I got a kid. I'd like you to get him a job in the afternoon. Well, he's still in the unemployment line. I was going to say he almost became Mr. Maggie Joe one time, but somebody else said that. I can always tell when Bo Rick has hit the entries. He runs around with his index finger that far up his nose, telling everybody that the race has come up real light. Now let me tell you all about his sense of direction. I get a call from the airport in Chicago, and he wants to know how to get to Arlington Park. I say, Mervin, what's your name? You got about 2 turns to make. It's about 20 minutes. You'll be there. Well, 2 hours later, I get a call from Waukesha. That's in Wisconsin. Well, Mervin, Now it's time for the good part. It's juicy. Maybe I should, maybe I won't. But I won't. Maybe these people want to hear about this little affair. But I'm not going to do it. No. But if he doesn't fill his promise to me, I swear I'll tell it to Bob Rossler.
That was all right, Spanky, no shit. I swear, I never met a coon ass with a brain yet. That was all right. And did it in English and everything, hell. Our next roaster is a man who's a living legend in his own mind. Think of him, I think of the words that were used to describe our great ex-president, Gerald Ford. He played too many games without his helmet. A man who just last year was voted best dressed man at the racetrack by the Lighthouse of the Blind. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Microphone himself, Ed Champagne.
Okay. Thank you, Billy, very much. I appreciate that wonderful introduction. You know, I've only knew you from a distance, to be frank with you, up until the other day, and seeing you here tonight. And I really didn't appreciate you until tonight, you know. And I admired you when you were in that show in the French Quarter that nobody wants a smart-ass or somebody's a smart-ass. What is it? Nobody likes a smart-ass. That's what they said, yeah. Well, they all love you, even though you are a smart-ass, you know. But that's all right, you know. And I agree with them. And I think that you've done a real wonderful job here tonight. And I think the Jocks agents deserve a lot of credit for bringing such an astute professional like you. But, you know, the French call these people artistes, you know. And when I got close to you, I really said, gee, I was a little surprised, but taken back a little, you know. And I said, gee, he says his mustache on one side looks like Massengill yellow. And on the other side, it looks like Massengill pink. And they always told me that these artistes, you know, were a little funny. Swear to that, you know. I mean, I'm just telling what they say. I mean, I've heard that, and looks like you're trying to prove it. And being you did such a good job, Billy, I'd like to come up here. I bought something for you. If you mind coming up, I'd like to give it to you. In behalf of the Stoods and the racetrack here, which I'm one of, I brought you some knee pads. It's a bike, and the color is red of the eyes. Hope you take it in our appreciation for your good job, okay?
Thank you. Maybe next year they'll give me the elbow pads.
Shucks. Now, we'll go from here. The main course, as Charlie says, is Mervin. Well, I've known Mervin for quite a few years, and Mervin is really a fine fella, a meek and humble man, to say the least. But Mervin has a few bad habits, and I guess we all have when we look at it real close, you know. But Mervin has a problem, you say, eating. But I played football without a helmet, and that's true, and I agree with that. And it shows. And I'm well aware of it. But they tell me when Mervin and his little brother, Raymond, get to the table in the house, they put on football helmets, shoulder pads, and they go at it. And I tell you, I see the scars on Raymond's fingernails. It look like they all cut off. I don't know whether Mervin does that reaching for the steak or the potatoes, but they look like they both well fed. Now, the racing secretary, everything revolves around the racing secretary at a racetrack. And when something revolves around Mervin, it has to be a tough job. Now, Mervin, all 260 pounds of him, is a real lovable fella. And Mervin's had quite a few people, nicknames on the racetrack are given to people, you know. And and New Orleans is no exception than any place else. And when I right off the top of my head, I just think of some people like Pickle Nose Willie, who was an astute handicapper. One Bite Hyman, you know, Freddie One Bite Hyman is a good, fair handicapper. Alan Blacklight Lacombe, terrible son of a gun. He can't even pick a goddamn winner. And anytime he picks one, the damn stewards take the number down. We don't have that many inquiries in a year. But that's the way it goes. Then we had guys like Straight Shooting Billy Bass, Willie Hotbox Carsons, Ray Catchwaits Broussard, and we had Honest Billy Scoose and Tommy Hot Rod, Lightning Rod, whatever you call him, Live Wire Guyton, to name a few. And then we had other nicknames that given. They had this fellow from New Orleans, is in Lafayette, or out in Delta now, is Ernie, dum-de-de-dum-dum, skinhead Ernie Hessler. He's named quite a few nom de plumes on people around here, and he was the one gave Mervin the name is Muffy. A lot of people don't know that, but that's a fact. And he also gave one of our stewards a good name. He says, Ronnie, cut across Shorty Nash. He also got a name for Stall, he told me. He says, I didn't really know this, but I was surprised when I heard it. He says, Albert Canvasback Stall. And I said, gee, I can't understand that. Where'd you get that from, Ern? He says, oh, he was a fighter in his day. I said, really? He says, yeah. He says, he broke his nose 5 times or more. I said, that's what they tell me. And I said, well, that's all right. I said, I broke my nose 2 or 3 times, but I play football. I don't know what his excuse is. So we go on, and you say people are connoisseurs of wine and connoisseurs of food. And Mervin's a connoisseur of wines and connoisseur of food. And Mervin's also a connoisseur of beautiful girls. And we all know that, but you wouldn't know it by looking at him, but he is. And he's had a few episodes here at the Fairgrounds. He's had a little affair with Macon Bacon, with Mary Bacon when she was here. He also had gotten a lather over Nicky Hunt. And well, there's a lot of things you don't know, Billy. Stick around, we'll teach you. And I tell you, it's a, sir? So, he had another little affair he had with Diane Carpenter, better known as Sunflower Carpenter. Somehow or another, this romance didn't bloom. I don't know why, but talking with Diane Carpenter the other day in the racing secretary's office, they talk about this toes thing. She said, that's not so. She said, I tell you, I heard about that too. And she said, I went out with Mervin, got some new pumps with no toes in it, and got my toes clipped and manicured in a nipple pink fashion. She said, thought that might move Mervin up a little bit. And she said, did, no avail, nothing. I said, I guess that's why the romance fizzled, I don't know. And then came Maggie Joe Potts, his true love. Mervin went so far as had Mr. Dornack twisted his arm to put on the tote board for 12,000 people to see that Maggie Joe Potts and Mervin Muniz are engaged, and gave it the ring at the finish line. I said, my God, I can't believe that, And everybody said, that's true. He said, Mervin's really had it. He's gone this time. He said, he can't get out the squeeze. And I said, that's fine. Lo and behold, I hear the romance is getting in. And I said, how did that happen? I said, I really don't know. So I went to Mervin's little brother, Raymond White Knight Muniz. He used some fancy footwork and brain power to kind of get this thing squashed. And he went to Maggie Joe. He said, Maggie Joe, he says, I know you're a nice, delicate flower lady. He says, and I love you, and my brother loves you. He says, everybody in the family loves you. And he says, but do you know Mervin's a married man? And she said, my God, no, I didn't know that. He says, absolutely. So Mervin she said, I don't mess with Mervin, with married men. She said, well, don't tell Mervin I told you now. It's a secret. She says, so she looked to the western part of the state. So I'm going to go find myself a husband. And she did. Now, Mervin was heartbroken for a day or two, but peace reigned again in the Muniz family because Mervin just didn't tie the knot. Now, as I said, we have other things here that I'd like to expand on. There said some people here, and I found out things at the racetrack that amazed me, some of the things go on. we have some world-famous divers here. Did you know that? No, wait a while, Billy. You know, I mean, I didn't prompt you, you know. The first thing comes to my mind is Dutch ball diver Fanassi, okay? Then we come to Charlie Big Time, scuba diver Morrow. That's just to name a few. Yeah, well, I know it, Charlie. I know it. Then we have, you heard of Cajun cuisine, right? Well, we have a Cajun cuisine here, too. We have little Cajun Joe Alamon, submarine diver. Joe's doing real well. He's a real nice fellow, and congratulations, Joe. Now, Mervin's been known, or it's been rumored that Mervin is some kind of a diver himself, but we have improved it, Billy, you understand? It's just hearsay. But I'll expound to that a little further along we go in the program. In fact, we were talking in the steward's office the other day, and one of the stewards says, I hear Mervin is a pearl diver. And the guy said, I don't think so. And one of the other stewards, I think it was Jimmy Nichols, he said, I think Mervin says he's a high diver. And I said, no, that's not so. That don't sound right. The guy said, well, he said, I hear Mervin's a mud diver. I don't know what kind of diver that is. I said, I don't believe that's so either. But just as I want to do for Mervin, because Mervin's such a hell of a nice guy. I know Mervin about 17, 18 years, I think. Worked with him, and he's a good racing secretary. Nobody can deny that. But Mervin, and Raymond didn't lie, Mervin is married to his job. That's his first love, and that's a fact. Mervin is dedicated. Like you say, he gets home at 5:30, showers, eats, gets in that bed, and he's here early the next morning. He's the most dedicated man in racing that I know, and he is a good racing secretary and a nice fella. But just to show you, Mervin, that we haven't forgot you, you got a plaque from the Jockeys Guild, but I'm going to give you another. Would you step up here, Mervin? Just I want to give this to you, if you don't mind. This is some knee pads for you, too, Mervin. Whatever kind of diving you do, I hope that puts you on top of things and keeps you going, baby.
Thank you. That's right. Thank you. That was Ed Champagne. He is the only speaker on the dais that was brought to you tonight by a sponsor. Sominex. The next roaster is the only female member of the dais. And I want to tell you, in this day and age of women's lib, it's a pleasure to have a woman here on the dais. But to tell you the truth, women's lib has got some ladies all screwed up. Tell you the truth, me, I'm all for it. I'm all for women's lib. Hell, I even love lesbians. What the hell, we like the same things. But I'm telling you, women's lib has got some ladies all screwed up. For instance, ladies don't want to even be called ladies no more. Want to be called persons. Chairperson. Congressperson. Hell, I even know a hooker wants to be known as a layperson. I'm telling you, women's lib has got Southern ladies so confused. I know one girl in women's lib, she's 6 months pregnant. She claims it ain't hers. Says she's carrying it for a friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Diane Carpenter.
These are sick people. Sick people over here. We're well. Oh, I got a crutch. I got a bunch of things up here for Mervin. Mom and Mervin. Love him. Well, now, look. I want to get this crutch out of the way, Mervin. I want to hit you in the head with it. Like some people know. You know, when they asked me to speak tonight, I've had countless questions and numerous telephone calls about my relationship with the great Mervin Muniz. That's perfectly innocent, I swear. An innocent friendship. He is the original Mom's apple pie.
No, he's standing up there.
Oh, Mom's back there. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I had some calls as far as California, all over the United States, from ladies, lady trainers in particular, messages from different people who say, look, Diane, you're one of our fellow female trainers, and we want you to mention all the accomplishments that Mervin has had throughout his career, his racing accomplishments and his personal accomplishments. Now, all the gentlemen ahead of me have already taken up a lot of the good, juicy gossip, but I've got to reiterate a little bit of it. These are his accomplishments that I know of. Number one, we've got this walking crutch that I brought up here on the stage. It was donated by a blonde trainer in Lafayette who shall remain nameless, but I believe her first name is Vicky? Vicky Small? No, Nikki, right?
Yes, Jerry Harris.
Jerry, all right. Well, Bubba told the story at any rate. But she told me to bring this crutch tonight to commemorate her brief, but how shall we say it? Her brief, but her tempestuous, her torrid relationship with Mervin. I want to say one thing about this crutch. Even then, at Lafayette, he was crippling innocent trainers with his out-of-sight condition book that he's got at this meet. And look, there's one other thing I brought, too. A hose nozzle now, a hose nozzle. This should bring back fleeting memories, and only fleeting memories, of those early morning hours at Evangeline Downs when Mervin was on the receiving end of the same lady trainer's attentions. The horse's shins, as she was hosing that morning, played second fiddle to Mervin's noggin. You can believe it. I think what they were doing was just working out the kinks in that relationship. Are you kinky, huh? I heard you were, Mervin. This is Mom's apple pie. Do I lie? Mom is a very kinky man. Now, I have one more thing left. This is a photograph. I want you to observe it. Look, I'll pass it around later on, all right? The pony girl. You can see her right over here. I found this by accident. Do you recognize her, Mervin? White pony. Hard the whole picture up. Suncatcher, all right? She took Suncatcher to the post one time that afternoon, but she took Mervin to the post many times. Many times thereafter. Now, I hear that it was almost to the altar, too, you know, close. I hear. But just think, Mervin, it could have been to the cleaners. You escaped. All the people in this picture, by the way, they're in serious trouble right now. Let me see what else I have to say about you. Oh, I do know one other thing. I was a little worried. You know, I followed all these gentlemen. They know all the dirt about Mervin. I thought, well, I'm not going to get anything exciting or juicy, no good gossip. But I did go to the beauty salon the other day, and while they were working on my hair and looking at my toes and my nails and things like that, this one girl said, hey, Diane, you know, you going to that dinner for Mervin tomorrow night? I said, yeah, why? She said, I had this wide selection of women in here that keep asking for them. They want hot pink toes, watermelon, tangerine orange. So he likes these different colors. I said, well, I'll tell you, I didn't know about any of that stuff, but I'll repeat it, you know, tomorrow night. She said, well, I think this. You know, we got hair by Dolfo, makeup by Marisa. Why not toes by Mervin? There's only one other thing I can really add to that. You know, my name is a plain name. Now, if it were Nikki or Vicky or Maggie, anything like that with an IE on the end of it, I might get some good races written down here for me instead of, you know, this nonsense that we get every day. But I got his condition book, and I feel bad, Mervin. I kept it, you know, the whole meeting from you. It's the original, and I want to return it to you in front of all these people. But when I was looking on it, I realized you got all your ideas from the book from here. It says Latonia, Latonia. Were you there? Is that our book now? A copy of Latonia? Well, let me give it back to you. Mervin, I love you.
That'll give you a good idea why ERA will never pass. You like that, huh? Well, Mervin, it's about time we gave you equal time up here. Actually, ain't that a great-looking watch, Mervin? I got this watch from my granddaddy. On his deathbed, the cheap sucker sold it to me. It's a good watch. I swear, I can't get the BB in the bear's eyes. It's time that we gave Mervin time to get up here and rebut all of this. Mervin, I would like to say before you come up here that you can pick your friends and you can pick your nose. But if you can find a friend who will pick your nose for you, then you got something. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mervin Muniz. Well, folks, first I want to thank everybody for being here tonight and thank the JABA for honoring me tonight. I guess it's an honor. But seriously, folks, I went into a lot of research and did a lot of planning for what I was going to say, but I guess after everything was said tonight, it kind of left me speechless. But I guess I'm just going to ad-lib and say a few things. See Mr. Broussard there on the end. You know, we had quite a problem. I don't know if y'all realize this a few years back with Spanky here. He and Clifford Scott shared the same barn. So... Oh, no, he knows I'm telling the truth. He and a trainer called Clifford Scott shared the same barn. So Clifford called me that September. He says, I just can't take it anymore in that barn with Spanky. He says, you're going to have to find another spot for me or find another spot for Spanky. Well, I forget what happened, but he says that Spanky was just lowering the property values in his barn. He said he had to do something. We had to do something about it. So we put Clifford in another barn, and we left Spanky in the barn that he's in at the present time, and we put another friend of mine in a barn, Melissa White. And Melissa called me from Louisiana Downs and asked me what barn she was going to be in. I told her the number of the barn and said, you're going to be in there with a nice fella, Mr. Broussard. So she went over there and shipped in. Spanky was already in. He comes in around the 1st of October, and I think Melissa got in around the 15th. And she says, well, she says, is that a barn you put me in, or is that a van agency? She says, all I see is vans up in front of there and Sally van signs there. So she says, I never did meet Mr. Broussard. It's been a couple of weeks. We haven't seen him at the barn at all. But one person that I'm sorry is not here tonight, and that's Louis Roussel. But look, if you all know Louis, I think, and you know he's interested in the bank and he's interested in his horses and the fairgrounds.
But I don't know if y'all knew that he was interested in the space program. Out there at Michoud, he is a benefactor, and he's sponsoring a special rocket that's going to be scheduled to be blasted off in the next couple of weeks. And Ken Johnson is going to be in there. He's going to be the first newsman to be on the moon. But also I want to thank Mr. Dorinak. He's the only one that's given me a job offer for this summer. He's offered me a job at the store as a bag boy. But yeah, getting back to Evangeline Downs, you know, when I tell this story on Charles Ashe, I'm telling the story on myself. Charles was the general manager there for the past several years, and I've been the racing secretary there, and it recently changed hands. Now, Billy Trotter, when he was negotiating for the sale, so they tell me, the going price was $10 million. And Billy's a good friend of mine, and as Billy Holiday said before, a good friend of Billy Trotter's. So, yeah, you said that about Charles. But anyway, the price was $10 million. And he told him, he said, I'd like you to do one thing. He said, I'd like you to keep Mervin as racing secretary, and I'd like you to keep Charles Ashe as a general manager. The man that bought the track said, to hell with those two guys. He said, I'll give you $12 million and let those guys go. But, you know, I see Mr. Stahl here tonight. I haven't seen so much confusion and so much laughter at a function since right in this room, Mr. Stahl was chairing one of these meetings in here. But talking about Mr. Stahl, I've been trying to call you, but I call extension 277, and so they tell me the phone's been disconnected. But I'll tell you what, also, I've talked to Mr. Dorinak, and Mr. Stahl has a very nice suite over on the other end there. And for anyone that visits over there, beginning Wednesday, he will have 2 portalettes over there for the people that visit his suite. But Diane Carpenter, she's my friend. You know, she's the only person I know. Her selections of boyfriends have been worse than my selection of girlfriends. And Big Time Charlie, I just don't know about that boy. Where you working at now, Charlie? But another friend of mine over there, Mr. Webb, Mr. Bubba Webb, one of my long and dearest friends. You know, folks, he's from a little town called Hannah, Louisiana. They got a sign when you go in that says, you're now entering and leaving Hannah. It's about 50, 60 miles this side of Shreveport. But Bubba was taking over as state steward at Evangeline Downs and quite a number of years ago. When he first came to Evangeline, he was dressed in his old bib overalls, and he looked like a real farmer. So he started seeing these guys with all kind of fancy clothes and everything. Hell, he went in to Emil Joseph's and he bought 15 suits and all kind of fancy stuff. Then he started seeing girls. He seen all kind of red. He had a redhead on every corner. I mean, at one time he had 3 color TVs out, a house. He was really good. He was really known as, before he settled down, he was known as a real egg in Lafayette. But I just want to really thank everybody for showing up here tonight, and it's for a real good cause. The chaplain John Harbelt, who's going to receive the proceeds from this function. It's done a real fine job here this winter, and you all really can know that you all contributed to a real good cause. And folks, I don't know what to say, but by showing up here tonight and supporting this, it really does make me feel good. Thank you very much.
Wait a minute. Don't go away, Mervin. Thank you. Thank you. I have to tell you something. It really takes a very special person to allow himself to be roasted. Unfortunately, tonight we couldn't find that person. Instead, we got Mervin. But there's some things, Mervin, that before you leave here, first of all, I would like to bring up to the microphone the resident Jew. Came all the way from West Virginia to present a plaque to Mervin, a man who made all this responsible. How about a nice warm welcome for Jerry Hitson?
Mervin, the Jocks agents at Fairgrounds would like to present this plaque to you to hang it in your office or at home or wherever you care to choose to hang it. And we'd like to thank you for all your cooperation and everybody else is here tonight. And I'd also like to thank and mention that the owners of Explosive Wagon has donated another $500 to Chaplain John. Also, that is Mel and I got the name here somewhere. Peggy, that's it. Mel and Peggy McReynolds, the owners of Explosive Wagon, donated $500, and also Mr. Joey Dornack Jr. another $500. And Hall and Smith Van Lines has donated $50. So I'd like to have Chaplain John please come up here right at the present time. I got another bid going on. Sally donated $100. Chaplain John, the Jocks agents of the Fairgrounds and here in New Orleans would like to present you with a check that we'll write it out Wednesday morning at the bank. It'll be in